A night in Qatar. The stadium is drenched in light. Confetti drifts through the air, gold and blue scattered in every direction. And in the middle of the field, a man kneels on the ground. His eyes are closed. His hands are raised toward the sky. Millions of people are screaming, but in that one moment, for him, the entire world has gone silent. A few seconds later, he lifts the trophy, the golden trophy that every footballer on earth longs to touch. The flash of cameras lights up his face, and on that face, there are tears. But these are not tears of joy. These are tears of a story. The question is, how did a child who once couldn't even run properly, a child doctors said might never grow to a normal height, become the greatest name in the history of football? This is not a story about goals. This is the story of a being that life tried to stop at every turn and who came back a little stronger every single time. Let's go back in time, 30 years before that night. A small industrial city in Argentina, Rosario, June 24th, 1987. In an ordinary home, a child is born. His father, Jorge, a factory worker. His mother, Celia, a woman who worked as a cleaner. No fame, no wealth, just an ordinary life. And this child is named Lionel. No one had any idea that this name would one day be on the lips of the entire world. In childhood, Lionel's most precious companion was a ball. He would chase it through the streets, in the courtyard, during school breaks, everywhere. His grandmother, Celia, would take him to the nearby field and have him play with older kids. People were amazed at how easily such a small boy could dodge past bigger players. His grandmother's heart held a certainty that this child would do something great one day. But she didn't know that this very belief would one day become the boy's greatest strength, at a time when everyone else might have given up hope. At the age of 8, Lionel joins the youth setup at Newell's Old Boys. His team would later be called the Machine of '87, a team that never lost. The coaches were stunned. Such a small boy, such speed, such control, such understanding, as if the ball were glued to his feet. People began to say, this child is something special. But then, something came along that changed everything. Lionel was 10, 11 years old when his parents noticed he was clearly smaller than other children his age. He was taken to doctors, tests were run, and then came the news that broke a father's heart: a growth hormone deficiency, a medical condition that meant if not treated in time, this child would never reach a normal height. And the treatment? The treatment was expensive. Hundreds of dollars in injections every month for years. On a factory worker's salary, it simply wasn't possible. This is where the battle begins that was never fought on any stadium field. Jorge Messi knocked on door after door. He asked Newell's Old Boys for help, and the club helped for a while, but then resources began to run out. Argentina's Football Federation was also contacted, but no solid answer came. Every door brought a new refusal, and with every refusal, that dream felt a little further away. Think about it, a father sitting at his son's bedside at night, not knowing where next month's medicine money would come from. This story isn't just about football. It's the story of that silent battle fought in millions of homes, every night, without a camera watching. But then, a turning point came. Some of the Messi family's relatives lived in the Catalonia region of Spain. Through them, an idea was born. Why not reach out to a major club in Spain? Courage was gathered, contacts were made, and finally, in the year 2000, Lionel Messi was invited to Barcelona for a trial. Picture that scene. A 13-year-old boy, thousands of miles from home, standing on a field where the coaches of the world's biggest club were watching him. It would have been impossible not to feel the pressure. But the moment the ball touched his feet, the fear vanished. That same old flow, that same magic that existed in the streets, was now on Barcelona's field. The club's sporting director, Carlos Risac, was there. He became instantly certain that this boy was no ordinary talent. But the problem was that the club's board was taking time to decide, and the Messi family didn't have time to wait. Every passing day was another day without medicine. And then came that moment, still considered to this day one of the most famous events in football history. No formal paperwork was available, so Risac picked up an ordinary napkin lying nearby and wrote the intent of the agreement on it. A plain piece of paper carrying a promise written on it. And that one promise changed the life of a sick child forever. At that time, very few of the coaches at La Masia had any idea that this quiet, shy, small-statured boy would one day change the entire history of that club. The years passed. His body slowly grew stronger. His game sharpened. And in 2004, at the age of 17, Lionel Messi played his first match for Barcelona's senior team. That moment, which the whole family had wanted for years, finally became reality. But this was only the beginning. The real test was still ahead. Over the next few years, Messi did things no player had ever done before. Dribbles, speed, goals. The crowd at Camp Nou began chanting his name. He slowly became the club's most important player. In 2009, he received football's biggest individual honor for the first time, the Ballon d'Or. Then 10, then 11, then 12. One after another, he kept collecting trophies, the way he used to collect balls in the streets as a child. At the club level, Messi was now considered a god. But one place was still empty, his own homeland, Argentina. When Messi put on the national team jersey and stepped onto the field, something strange would happen. The same magic, the same speed, but the results didn't come the way they did at Barcelona. The 2014 World Cup final, a stadium in Brazil, Argentina against Germany. The whole country held its breath. In extra time, Germany scored. The trophy slipped away. Messi walked off the field, holding the Best Player award, but there was no joy on his face. The one trophy that mattered most had slipped through his hands. Then in 2015, the Copa America final, a loss. In 2016, another final, another loss in a penalty shootout. And this time, Messi himself missed a penalty. Walking off the field, he made an announcement that shook all of Argentina. He announced his retirement from the national team. 2022, Qatar. Messi, 35 years old. Everyone knew this was his last chance. The tournament began with a shock right away, a stunning loss to Saudi Arabia in the very first match. Criticism started up once again. People began saying perhaps this journey would end right here. But then something changed. The team fought back. They began winning match after match. Messi was approaching the best football of his life. Quarterfinal, semifinal, through. And then came that day, December 18th, 2022, the final, Argentina versus France. That match, which many experts call the most dramatic final in football history. Argentina 2 goals ahead. Then France equalized within a few minutes. In extra time, Messi scored again to go ahead. And then Messi fell to the ground. Tears, joy, years of pain all came pouring out together. The same child who had once prayed for expensive medicine now stood holding the biggest trophy in the world of football in his own hands. And here we return to the scene where this story began. The same man kneeling on the ground, the same closed eyes, the same hands raised toward the sky. Now we know what was in those tears. In them was the factory where his father worked. In them were the needles that pierced his stomach every week. In them was the napkin that changed his life. In them was the criticism that tried to break him. And in them was a belief that never ran out. Messie's story was never a story about goals.
This is the story of a man whom life kept telling again and again, "You cannot do this." And every single time, he quietly answered, "We'll see." Today, when the world calls him the greatest footballer in history, the real lesson isn't hidden in football. The real lesson is hidden in that sick child whom doctors said might not even live a normal life. If that child had given up on the day of that diagnosis, if his father had stopped knocking on doors, if that napkin had never been written, the world would never have known what greatness looks like. But they did not give up. And this is the truth for every person lying awake on some difficult night, thinking that maybe their dream is too big, too far, too impossible. Because sometimes the weakest beginnings give birth to the strongest stories.